And we're live. Okay. Yeah, seems to be.
Marginally.
Yes, we're marginally live. Yeah, someone was up late printing wood elves.
Someone up late just because they couldn't sleep either.
So if you'll notice on the table, that little Plano box is full of 1,000 points. That's what 1,000-point army of War Master looks like.
I'm very excited. Thank you for printing that.
Oh,
for me.
sure. Yeah. So it's, fun. And they look really good. This is, I think, an army that the artist put a lot of love into. But we didn't print the Forest Dragon.
No, that's a bit excessive for 1,000 points. It's what, like 300 points?
Right.
Something like that. Yeah,
but it's a beautiful sculpture. So when we have the bigger
2,000 point games,
at least, to get that bad boy out.
Cool.
But so we're good to go. So let me just take a look in chat real quick. Make sure. So hey Joe, how's it going? Thanks for watching. Yeah, so we're on a day earlier because of vaccination protocols. Yep. To make sure that I'm around. Okay. But cool. Yeah, so I think we're all ready to start. All right, let's give this a shot. Welcome to the Weekly. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Chris.
And this week on the Weekly,
I'm excited.
The new Marvel Superheroes tabletop RPG.
Okay.
The Demiplane virtual tabletop.
Okay.
And DriveThruRPG color price increases, or as they call them, dramatic price increases.
That's never good. All right.
So we'll save that one for last.
Sure.
All right. Marvel announced that, and I've seen conflicting reports. I think in 2023, I've seen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've
Okay.
seen next year.
Okay.
But as far as the complete game, so maybe they may introduce things earlier. But Marvel Entertainment is getting back into role playing, and they're introducing the Marvel Multiverse Role-Playing Game.
Right.
And so the new tabletop RPG will allow fans to play their favorite heroes or create their own, and that's always kind of a thing with superhero
Existing IPs?
Existing IPs we've talked about, which is something that I won't go into a tangent, but Dune has the stats for all the major characters in the first book, basically. Right. So it's like
so you can kill them.
Yeah, right.
Because that's what you do when you provide stats for something. Yeah,
right. Yeah, so that's the same thing in the Marvel. You want to play the Hulk or Superman or Wolverine or whatever, but do you? I mean, do you want to have your own connection and your own kind of like origin story for your own character? So I don't know, but you can do both. So there we go. And so they're announcing it on their website. The writer and co-designer is New York Times. I love when they say this. New York Times bestselling author and game designer Matt Forbeck. So
what else has Matt Forbeck designed?
He's worked on the Endless Quest game books for D&D, Shotguns and Sorcery. Okay. And I guess that has done a couple editions of the Marvel Encyclopedia, which kind of got him involved in that. And then also worked in video games, Biomutant and Rage 2, and maybe as a writer. Okay. And then worked on the novelizations for Minecraft Dungeons and Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Oh, well. So he's been involved in
stuff.
Games, and a fan of this IP for a long time. Over 30 years professionally. So he hopes to make the best Marvel tabletop experience. But he's got a lot of competition. There's been some good Marvel tabletop experiences. So the thing that made me a little bit less excited about this is they are implementing an all-new D616. I don't know how you say it.
D616. Yeah, something like that.
System, yeah. So described as accessible and easy to learn for newcomers and for those familiar with games like D&D. However, they offered no details about how this actually works. So we're going to have a new system to deal with, and hopefully it works well with heroic role-playing and superheroes and that kind of wacky combat, or not, then it's a new thing we have to learn, and can't we just plug in something else? So the attributes they did announce, so it'll be might, agility, resilience, vigilance, I love vigilance, ego, and logic. And then there's templates for Spider-Man, Black Panther, Captain America, Thor, Captain Marvel, Ms. Marvel, Wolverine, and Storm. That sounds very...
templates as in they've kind of posted, here's the character sheets?
Yeah, they will be provided as playable characters. Yeah, okay. So templates are the playable characters. So maybe to help you figure out how you'd want to make, whatever, if there's a skill system or whatever, however you're going to sculpt your character, or if you just want to play, I want to play Wolverine 2 or whatever. Captain Marvel Light. But so 2023 is mostly what I've seen, but we may hear some more next year about it. And they're going to do a box. No, not a box set. No. Oh, sorry. So this is kind of in a line of succession and going all the way back to what is that? 84.
Yeah,
1984. The box set for the Marvel Superheroes, the heroic role-playing game. So that's a TSR release. So that was like early days, and I think that's kind of hard to beat. Kind of like the Star Wars West End Games system. It's like, yeah, okay, you can do another Star Wars system, but they already did it pretty well. Like that worked pretty well. I guess maybe not for how complicated Star Wars has gotten.
Well,
but yeah. So following up something like that, and the thing that was appealing about the heroic role playing game was the universal table, right? That you determined actions. And rounds were considered to last a comic book panel long. So you had like a nice sense of like how long something would take, because if you could depict it in a panel, that's one action.
Right.
And and so and simple battle effects for the dice resolution. So that was really fun. It seemed to work well, and it's definitely a product of that time. But I don't think I don't know if D616 is going to beat it.
Well, who knows? Because we don't know anything about D616.
Right. Yeah. It might be even better. But and so following that up, there's also been the Marvel Superheroes Adventure game in '98 and tabletop and Marvel Universe Role-Playing, or MERG, I guess, MERG. I don't know how you would say that, in 2003.
So I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what system that is. So the IP has been bouncing because Marvel was desperate for a while to just license things before they went out of business. Yeah, that's why Spider-Man is at Sony and X-Men are at Fox, because they were like, yeah, please just use our IP for various things. But this will be more tied into the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the success that they've had. So that might bring fans of those films into tabletop to try to play that, or who knows? I mean, it's going to be a bunch of different audiences that are going to be looking at this, and depending on how they brand it and how it's promoted, we'll see like who picks it up and who gets interested, if it's older gamers or younger people wanting to actually play as superheroes.
Interesting. Yeah, I saw the announcement as well, not from Marvel directly, but I think I saw someone retweet and like an image of the cover, and I'm not really interested in superheroes. I mean, okay, fair enough, I enjoy the Marvel movies, but the Cortex-powered Marvel heroic role-playing game, I really liked that. And that was what, like, when that came out 5-ish, I want to say like 5-ish years ago, something like that. Maybe I'm wrong. I looked at it and said, okay. I played it with Lyle and Chris and went, oh, wow, this is really different. I was expecting to come on like D20 based, whatever.
Right.
And that was my first Cortex game.
Oh, nice.
Which I really like Cortex now, and actually got to like write for the upcoming Cortex Prime handbook. So seeing a new Marvel heroic game come out that's kind of not Cortex is for me kind of disappointing, especially since I'm not exactly sure what happened because I don't have insider information, but I know there were upcoming books for the Marvel heroic role-playing game that will never see the light of day because I think it was at the time Margaret Weiss Productions. I'm not going to say lost because that seems like it's their fault, but the contract is gone. Right. And I don't know why. Kind of sucked. Like, I think the Marvel heroic role-playing game is a great game, and it's kind of disappointing to see something else. I mean, that's my feeling, and I'm not going to dismiss it, but I'm also trying to not judge this D616 thing too harshly.
Right.
But it's also hard to go, like the thing that came before, why do we need this new one, right?
Right.
Yeah, we'll see. But one of the big jokes with Marvel heroic role-playing is that it had no character creation rules.
Oh, wow.
Except it did.
Yeah, it
right?
did, but
it was not what people wanted, which is why the joke continued. What you had in the back of the book was data files for a wealth of Marvel superheroes, and you were playing the Marvel heroic role-playing game, so you were kind of expected to play an existing Marvel hero, which, getting into that IP discussion, to me, like, first I was kind of like, what? Then I'm like, oh, it makes sense. If you're going to make a hero, are you really playing the Marvel heroic role-playing game?
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Here's this character that only exists in my headcanon and is nowhere in Marvel. It's like, we're just playing a superhero game, though, which is fine, and if that's what you want to do, but you're playing the Marvel game.
Yeah. That's a good point, yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and through the magic of live streaming, Orcus Dorcas in the chat clued us into that naming. So Earth 616, it's the Marvel
That's kind of what I
Multiverse.
thought.
Yeah, so I guess that's the parody continues as Orcus Dorcas.
I don't know. There's too much of that. Too much implies it. But my first thought was the Order 616 from whatever stupid Star Wars prequel thing, and I'm like, 616 must be like, yeah, okay,
Yeah, so I guess that's
Earth connection, yeah.
right. So
Yeah.
I guess when they're doing multiverse, and maybe that's what they're, in your original, like you can play Wolverine of this
You're not playing Marvel
universe.
Sorry, that's my opinion. I'm not saying you can't have fun. Then you're kind of not playing Marvel,
Right.
in my opinion, which plays superhero. It also begs the question, okay, if this is the Marvel role-playing game 616, whatever, or the D616 system, well, that's a mouthful. There's other Earths.
Right.
Are there going to be other systems? Other
Oh,
cleverly
there you
named
go.
little die systems. This is our
There you
616 system. Welcome to our 420 system or whatever.
You're in a
Really?
realm. We only have D3s.
Yeah.
Right.
So I will be curious to see what the D616 system is. I don't know if I'll be picking up the game, only because I'm not that interested in superheroes.
Right.
So I'll be curious to see what it does. Probably not whatever price tag it ends up being.
Right.
curious.
Yeah, that's the thing too.
And that's not me saying it's inflated, just
it's gonna
books
be
are expensive.
Yeah, no, it'll be
Yeah.
a well-produced book. Yeah,
One would
true.
hope.
Yeah, hopefully, right. But we did have a fun one-shot of Masks, and that was the first superhero role-playing I played since like Villains and Vigilantes
Right.
in the 80s.
I do like Masks, but for me, Masks falls more into the, okay, you're superheroes,
Yeah.
but the real focus of the game is like teen drama
Yeah,
and kind
right,
of
right,
controlling
right. Yeah,
your
you're
power.
getting
So,
into yeah.
different from being a hero fully in control of your powers, kind of
Right.
like knowing what's going on. I'm not saying you can't have drama during or in those types of games, but that's not really what Masks.
Right, and
does.
it was a lot of like, Mom, can they stay for dinner?
Yeah.
That's heroic role play
Yeah.
right there. Yeah, but that was fun though, having the secret identity and kind of clumsy heroes because
Yeah.
it was kind of built for you to be incompetent.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of possibly incompetent,
Uh-oh.
that was a terrible segue.
It worked.
But the Demiplane virtual tabletop, I don't know. They did a long interview with GamesBeat, and who I think is video games. So I'm not sure why they're maybe everyone's turning to tabletop. So
Yeah, well.
Polygon and everybody has to talk tabletop RPGs.
Which means exclusively D&D.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they kind of get that sweet Hasbro money. But so a new virtual tabletop with a wider tool set and a new ways to play RPGs online. And so I went through this kind of lengthy interview, and they didn't do them any favors, and kind of they could have some of their answers were a little clumsy, and they left it all in there.
Oh, well, okay.
So the creators of this would be Adam Bradford and Travis Ferrick, and so they're talking about Demiplane being a new platform, and they're kind of aiming at the real mainstream of the big hitters, so Dungeons and Dragons, Vampire the Masquerade. And so they're not, the thing that they keep emphasizing, they're not trying to compete with Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds. Okay. So I don't know what that means, because they're pretty standard. Like what they do is pretty standard. And so Bradford is pretty much known, worked for D&D Beyond for a while, former vice president of the tabletop gaming at Fandom.
Yeah.
So I don't know if
Fandom was part of, had Cortex Prime.
Oh,
so
nice.
Adam Bradford was part of the Cortex Friday updates for a while.
Nice. Oh, hey, thank you. Okumaru Games, thank you for the sub. We have a running zombie live. Thank you so much. And also worked on Beyond's digital tool set, so has some experience with that kind of platform. Frederick brings a different perspective.
Okay.
He's a lifelong gamer, an All-Pro and Pro Bowl center for the Dallas Cowboys.
Wasn't expecting that last part, but okay.
Yeah, so it has a love for tabletop RPGs. So I thought that was a little funny. That reminds me of a thing that happened in video games with a former baseball player. But we won't talk about that. What people do with their money.
You know what? People have hobbies, and you got to start somewhere. And that's not saying this person won't be appropriate for the job.
Yes. Well, yeah. There's a good quote. Good quote from Frederick that says, "I am a firm believer that if everyone in the world played RPGs, the world would be a better place." And kind of emphasize the cooperation, the communication, like the things that you have to bring to the table. And the thing that's funny about that quote is, like, I think the people that started tabletop RPGs were the least social and the least socially capable people. But I think it has evolved into, because people spend more time online, if you can get together around a table and negotiate a game session with other players, you're a step ahead of people that live on social media.
Tangent. I kind of agree with that, but I'm not a fan of the touchy-feely, gamer, like TTRPG gamers are special kind of, and we have this like special quality. Like, I've gotten blasted, I think, by like, there's always kind of like a call to action when something happens, and it's like, we play heroes in games and let's do this. And I'm like, no, I don't like that, because you know what? We're not fucking special, right? Like other people can do exactly the same thing. But I do think tabletop RPGs have potential as a tool to encourage better social interaction and teach people those development skills and stuff, like when they're done correctly, right? Like just playing a tabletop RPG doesn't give you an edge or the skill set over anyone else. I mean, how many times do we see my group is doing this? And the answer is, dude, fucking talk it out with your group and don't be a petty, vindictive DM who does shit in the game to characters. I'm ranting now, but right? Like, the whole point of that was, sure, they are potentially a decent tool. People do potentially have those skills from playing these games.
Right.
It's not something that just automatically happens by opening the player's handbook, right?
You don't transform.
Yeah, you don't transform into someone who automatically knows how to manage social skills and do all these things, right? So,
right.
Yeah.
And if all of us are tabletop role-play gamers,
who are we going to pick on?
Yeah, right. Then none of us are. But so the thing they talk about, a couple of things that it's new thinking, but a couple of things I was like, is they're emphasizing the matchmaking algorithm. So they're really going to put an emphasis on community, finding groups, and matching people, styles of play. And it's got kind of an Uber or a kind of thing, a rating system built in. So you're rating both players and GMs, and that helps you find groups and be paired with people. And so if you are constantly getting 1-starred or thumbs down or whatever it's going to be, that might make it difficult to use the system, because people are seeing you as not particularly cooperative. So they're hoping to create better games, longer lasting groups. And so there's a lot of tools to try to make that happen, which I don't think any of that is particularly new, like whispering or side chats, or, you can kind of separate groups and talk to particular people. But the rating and reward system is what they're talking about. You're asked whether, and this puts, game masters have enough pressure already. And if you're, know that all of your players are going to be filling out a little form about your performance every time, that puts a little extra pressure on that. So you're asked whether you had a great time with your game master, and you have an opportunity to tip if you did. Okay. So they're building in a reward, a monetary system. So you can either do a prepay where it's $5 to play, so prepay and come to the table, and or if you liked this game, it's nothing to play, just have an account. We'll put together the group. If you liked it, give me a tip. Right. And so obviously Demiplane is going to get in there somewhere.
A percentage, I bet.
Yeah, to try to get. And so, and if you're going to, it's, pooling money and then using that to buy resources for the game group or whatever makes sense. But who knows? Yeah, if it's just tipping and stuff, it's a little odd. People can try to then make a career out of it.
Yeah,
you can GM every night of the week and try to make that a steady income. So they talk about safety tools, and the first thing that they mentioned was safety tools is the safety tools of getting paid. So it's like, God, we were going to secure, so not only for the game master to make sure they get paid so nobody ghosts you and leaves the session without paying, but also if you're a player and you're having a bad time, if you step away from the table, you don't have to pay the full fee or whatever. They prorate whatever time you spent.
The way that was phrased kind of left a bad taste in my mouth, but I see why you would have to do it. Right? Like, if you're turning this into a paid service, and I have nothing against professional DMs who get paid, because as you just said, the DM GM has like a lot to do, and running a game is not more important than being a player, because there's no game without either of those people. Actually, that's not true. You got GM-less games, and there's a debate or discussion about whether like reading a game book is actually a form of play, which I'm not going to get into. But if you're going to go the traditional sense of being a professional GM, then you do need some kind of protection about players just quitting on you and not paying a fee. Right. But on the flip side of that, if you're having an absolute shit time, why should you have to pay for that?
So, oh yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, so they talk a bit about that, and people can't just drop into your session and wreck things, and so the groups are formed using their algorithm, and they're really emphasizing on building the community, and that's the hard part of any of this stuff, because you've got such a variety of types of people with different expectations and ambulances, and so your algorithm is not going to be able to handle that. I mean, my recommendations on Amazon suck, so I don't.
Sure, right. But if they're touting that as kind of part of the service, you would hope that their algorithm can do that, right? And having to fill out some kind of survey or rating or whatever, would hopefully match people with the correct.
And hopefully with the experience, the fandom and D&D Beyond experience, they know how to handle troublemakers. They know how to, how to
boot them.
Deal with disruptive or, just kind of a conflict in the game space. So we'll see. So I don't know. There wasn't anything. So they're kind of stepping back and saying we're not competing with Roll20. Kind of makes me think like, well, then what are you doing? I mean, if you're doing the matchmaking and connecting the kind of financial part of it, I guess that's something. And empowering GMs to actually have a reason to keep coming back and have some sort of compensation. But at the same time, a paid GM is kind of like a dancing monkey or a webcam girl. I'm going to be especially entertaining for a group of strangers.
My
to
feeling
throw
is,
coins at me.
Again, like my feeling is, if that's what you want to do, why not?
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, so we'll see, and they actually are going to have and as far as safety tools, they do have a traditional safety tool. A hand raise button is basically the only thing that they mentioned. There may be more, but that's the thing that's going to be kind of pre-built into the system that they're willing to talk about now. So they didn't go when they're talking about safe and they're trying to create these safe spaces for games. They're not doing a lot as far as
innovating.
And helping actual players' safety beyond making sure they pay. So we'll see. And they are going to also have a button that kind of jumps you into the other virtual tabletops to be using the maps and tools and other things that are going on in Fantasy Grounds or Roll20. So I was like, okay, so now I've got another thing open. It's like I'm already used to doing Discord and Roll20 or Google Whiteboard and whatever. So yeah, I don't know. It's trying to get into that space, and it's already a pretty crowded space. There's kind of new, very graphic heavy stuff or very light, what stuff that runs on just about anything. Virtual tabletops coming out, so I'm not quite sure where they think they're going to fit in, unless they do actually pull this matchmaking thing off.
Well, yeah, it's. I think it's the match. Who knows? It's probably the matchmaking and tip or sort of paid DMing angle that they're going for.
Yeah, and it could be good. And it could work out, and it just depends on who adopts it. So we'll see which groups say this is great, this is for us, and they kind of head that way. And if those people have a lot of money to throw around, then I guess it'll do okay. So we'll see. But I like they're legitimizing their existence in kind of this tabletop world by saying they're based in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and grew up very close to Lake Geneva. So I guess they drank the same water as Arneson and Gygax. So that's legitimizing, right? They get the same flu strains every winter. But so we'll see. They have they started in 2019, so kind of just pre. So it wasn't they weren't completely set up before COVID, but COVID kind of helped them decide that they definitely wanted to do this, and it sounds like they've got decent funding. And they've got NFL money of some kind. So hopefully that'll be good. And we'll just kind of follow this and see how it evolves. And once there's a test or some kind of open beta, see what the functionality is like. But I don't know. Yeah, the ratings thing, that does sound like a little extra pressure. It's like, okay, now fill out your surveys and
it could be.
Tell us how.
Depending on how the ratings are done. Or because I know, speaking of ratings, the itch rating system for indie TTRPGs especially is, from what I hear, not very great. Because giving anyone less than a 5-star review fucks up the algorithm where it'll drop people off the charts. Right. So kind of the thing in indie circles now is either don't, if it's less than 4, just don't fucking leave a review. Right. Because you'll tank the person's thing, which isn't great. So hopefully their rating system is healthier than that, or isn't just rate from 1 to 5, but if you're setting up these matchmaking things, hopefully there's different questions
Yeah, right.
to
That
like
helps.
set up that initial group rather than 1 star, which will be prone to abuse because people are assholes.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the problem with this. I mean, this is people are playing games, so they're used to gaming systems,
Yeah.
and so yeah, and even like Apple Podcasts and stuff has that problem. Anything below 5, it's just like, oh, that may as well just be delete
Yeah,
my
yeah.
podcast.
So even if it's like a thumbs up, thumbs down system, would be better maybe.
Yeah, yeah, and so we'll see. And then you also have RPG Twitter, and then people get canceled, and then they go after their Demiplane account, and that they downvote attack. So yeah, they can lead to all kinds. And I hope they're anticipating that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
'Cause
hopefully.
you know it will happen.
Yeah,
Yeah, someone will.
I lost my +3. So, wow, even I do like the annoying nerd voice for bad gamers around. Right? But I can see people getting back to those social tools, people not having the maturity where something happened in a game that they didn't like because like something happened to their character.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
can see downvoting or whatever, which you would hope that Demiplane is anticipating this kind of thing, as you said.
Right. Yeah, just because you rolled a 1 doesn't mean it's
Yeah,
a bad
yeah,
GM. Yeah, right. So we'll see. And the final bit of horrifying news that was released officially by DriveThruRPG is a dramatic price increase of premium color books.
Right.
Yeah, so
I have seen this.
Yeah, so the latest newsletter from DriveThruRPG warned customers that prices will go up dramatically. I don't want to know what that means. But as of July 1st, due to price changes from our printing partner, the premium book color book price will increase dramatically. Black and white and standard will not be affected.
Yeah, I've published a few, hardly anything on DriveThruRPG, but I'm part of their publisher newsletter. And so, I had seen this coming. I think basically what happened is the presses that print their premium, I think Lightning Source prints the premium color, Lightning Source adopted a new machine.
Right.
And the color was different to the point where DriveThruRPG said, no, continue to use the old machines. Which is what happened for a while. And now recently, spurring this, Lightning Source said, we're no longer going to use those old machines. So DriveThruRPG is forced to print on the newer machines, which is causing this price increase. And I think they put it off for as long as they could, but come July 1st, they're like, nope, that's when things have to change over. And I'm pretty sure DriveThruRPG adjusted prices where, if the margin a creator was going to make on their premium color books was going to be nothing, DriveThruRPG has adjusted the prices so that you're going to get something. But if you do have a premium color stuff, go in and look at those numbers and adjust stuff. But as I said, it's only the premium color that's being affected. Right. Black and white isn't affected. So
That's right.
I think cards are also going to have a slight price increase due to. I mean, those are printed differently or in a different place, and only in the U.S. is why I haven't gotten my decks of anything because I don't want to pay $20 shipping on a $3 card. Right? It's also why my Hunger and Thirst games have just languished as non-cards because I'm can't approve it until I send myself a proof. I don't want to spend $60 to send myself a 3-card game. So anyway,
So that is going to be, and I think things have changed dramatically during lockdowns and I know shipping rates and things are all over the place because of flight schedule changes and things. So we'll see. We'll see how dramatic this is, so for creators this might really suck because a premium color book is kind of what you would want
if you got color,
if you can for a lot, and a lot of people for Kickstarters and things rely on that. So it's gonna mean okay, now our Kickstarter goal is gonna be 5,000 higher. So those sorts of things. We'll see a bit of a ripple.
I think people are looking at other sources. I think I've looked at Mixum or other places as well. But this is one of those things that kind of sucks, but is not really anybody's fault.
Right.
And just kind of.
We just have to.
Printing is expensive, and so is shipping, and as you said, shit's kind of up in the air. So.
Right. Yeah. Physical everything is going to take a hit, and like we talked about a couple of weeks ago, some companies like Warner Brothers just saying, we're not making discs of anything anymore because then we just don't have to deal with this. Nothing. We don't
kind of understand, but it's also scary to not have physical media for me. Especially when there's companies out there going, oh yeah, you just kind of rented that, and we're gonna take back those digital files or make it so you can't play it anymore. That's the shitty thing.
You bought access.
You bought access. Let's hope TTRPGs don't move in that direction, right? No, sorry, you bought access to that.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of already here, right? With like D&D Beyond or whatever.
Yeah. You don't maintain like
Oh, you
premium
didn't
accounts.
pay your monthly fee? Sorry, you don't get the books anymore. Yeah, here's your character sheet.
Campaign over.
Yeah, it doesn't work. Yeah. Which,
Yeah, so we already like are experiencing a bit of that, because you do have to have some of the virtual tabletops. You have to have a premium account. Your GM has to have that. If they don't, or something, their credit card just doesn't work, then nothing happens.
which is why I'm old school. I'm just like, nope, physical space at a table, rolling those actual dice.
Right.
Which during a pandemic is why we haven't gamed in feels like fucking forever now.
It does.
Did I mention this is an adult podcast?
Yes.
My language.
The F-bombs are flying.
Sorry.
It'll be fine on the audio, though. People will enjoy that. We don't have to worry about YouTube. But something that'll come up later, and why Dune is on the table. So that finally, my Dune core book arrived. I did an unboxing and kind of a flip through of this book. And they do an interesting, they have a whole section in the GM section. I can't remember if they call it something special in this game, but the GM section
Spice Master
has a lot of suggestions and tips for dealing, like a whole different list of safety tools and tips for like managing the space of a table and kind of what the GM's responsibility is. So I'll send you the digital version of this so you can read through that, and then we'll talk about that in an upcoming episode, because I think they went above and beyond, because they even mentioned during the production of this that they had sensitivity readers and kind of multicultural readers involved in writing this, and they really went heavily into like, these are your responsibilities. And so it feels very modern, very new in that way, because it's not just, what is a role-playing game?
Right.
Golly gee, get your dice. It's more like, you're at a table, people might be upset. You have to find out what everyone's tolerances are, if there's anything that people are sensitive to. And it really goes into depth more than I've seen in mainstream. And I consider this, Modifius a mainstream company. So I'm sure, indie RPGs have been well ahead of that curve, but this is the first time I've really seen something. So I'd like to get your opinion of that in the future.
Obviously different writers, but Modifius does the Conan books that I've still not read. But I wonder if they have any kind of safety tool things. And the only reason I thought of it is because Modifius also does the Conan 2D20. And if there's anything that needs like sensitivity readers and an update in its... And apparently Howard was supposedly ahead of his time. It was still the 1930s, right? And which is not to excuse any of the writing, but if you're going to play in that kind of setting, a game would need an update. And actually, Dune was 60s?
Yeah, the book's 60s, yeah. So I don't believe so. I think that was a little bit ahead, because Conan came out a while ago.
Oh yeah, it did. Yeah.
So I don't think so, because we would have probably noticed that. I'll take another look, and they're still printing the source books for Conan, so that may actually come up, and especially it may also be good, like source book specific, like depicting certain regional, some sort of cultural regional races in that setting. We have to say, okay, what he was kind of trying to do here,
or just, we're not going to touch that.
Right. Yeah, let's not. But so I'm interested about that. I'll take a look and see, because they are coming. That is coming from, and I think people's expectations for Conan are different. And I think this definitely came out. This property coming out and a new film and everything in kind of our current context, I think had to pay attention. And so maybe it was just before, because I think it was 2015 or something. It was even earlier than that, when they were producing it. So that's kind of before bigger companies started paying a lot of attention. So we'll see. So where can people find you?
On Twitter, as always. That's Hivemind, HYVEMYND, where I'm still continuing my now 100 fucking tweet long chain of that card-based game that war game that I'm trying to develop. I've gone through like 2 unit activation system mechanics, because I've like played tested it. I'm done like, that's not fun. Right? Yeah. And sometimes you just got to go, nope, doesn't work, and do it over. And I'm also, slightly more props to Rick Priestley.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Because as I'm like I estimate 2/3 of the way through trying to write the public playtest rules for that game, writing the rules to a war game, competitive war game, is hard as shit.
Yeah.
Because you can't go, do whatever makes sense. No, it's like, you got to lay out those rules. And I'm like, okay, all these edge cases, and where do I put them? And so while the War Master rules are still a god-awful mess to read, I'm slightly more sympathetic to why they are that way.
Right.
Anyway, speaking of War Master, I'm looking forward to painting and trying out those.
Yes,
miniatures. Anyway, so
we'll have a lot of that coming up. Yeah, and I'm also curious. So, how does it look? Like, is that because that's something that war games like on the table? Do the cards have a good feel? Like, do you feel like, wow, these are hordes of
Hard to say because
Yeah.
I'm just using. I've stolen Warhammer Fantasy placeholder art, which will get replaced and that stuff. But
Right.
yeah, I'm aware that like visual representation of both the information and how the cards look is what I'm trying to
Well, that's cool. Yeah,
think about.
And
yeah.
I like the. I saw some of the prototypes. I like the black and white placeholder art. That's very super
It is. So,
nostalgic. It's like,
yeah.
oh,
Which is why I'm kind of like, okay, I'm going to have to find stuff that's as good as that. Otherwise, yeah.
right.
But
Well,
we'll
very
see.
cool.
And where can people find you?
If you want to watch me draw cartoons, you can check out the Abusecartoons live stream. So that happens every Monday night, North American time. And so I draw 2 cartoons every week on both Twitch and YouTube. And Abusecartoons is the website for that, abusecartoons.com. And if you want to read the archive to see if you like the cartoon and want to see how the hell it gets created, gocomics.com/domestic abuse.
Yeah. From my experience, the YouTube chat is much more
Oh, yeah,
lively than the Twitch.
Yeah, the
I went to Twitch first. I'm like,
yeah, the
only
chat-
me. All right.
That's the Twitch is pretty dead. Yeah, YouTube just took off, and I think because another YouTuber kind of found me. So
Cool.
yeah, I got rated a few times on YouTube, and not as much.
I
on
still don't
Twitch.
understand thread rating, which is why I do none of the back end stuff for the show. I just show up and spew TTRPG bullshit.
Right.
Into the
You just have to
microphone.
check that box, allow raids, and then you're
Oh,
cool.
yeah.
Nice. Oh, hey, thank you, Joe. Yeah, thanks for the posting the link. So, in the YouTube chat, there is a link to the Abuse Cartoons channel. Thank you so much, Joe. And if you'd like to see more of the weekly and what else we do at Upturned Table, visit upturntable.com. There's a Patreon, patreon.com/upturntable, and you can become a weekling and
Become a
support
weekling.
and support this show. So we'll do this more amazingly and actually have less green video someday. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, and we'll be back again next week.
Later, mortals.
Goodbye.
Woohoo.